so freaking bad? Wrestle me.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 158. As you can see, somebody's missing. More than one person is missing. It's just me. This is going to be a everybody called in sick except for me episode. And as you can hear from my voice, I got a little bit of a cold too. This will be short. This will be sweet. We haven't skipped an episode in 3 years, and we're not about to start. So this is just me giving my opinion, and the topic is my favorite wrestlers in the 3 generations that I'm aware of professional wrestling. As a fan, as a little kid, as a grown man, adult baby person that I currently am. Right off the bat, I'd like to thank everybody that has listened, everybody that has shared the podcast, everybody that has that we've met. That being said, this will probably be a shorter episode, short and sweet. Updates. Wallace is not feeling well. That's one update, but he'll be good. You'll see him next week, and you'll hear his screaming once again and his jokes, and you'll have the luxury of not smelling his bad breath and body odor. Bodie, he'll be back soon too. He's making the big bad move from the almost Great White North of Wisconsin down to the sunny, swampy, wonderful Florida. Him and his family got an opportunity to live a better life, easier, all that stuff. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I said what I said. All the best of luck to him and his family with the move. Hope everything goes smooth. He'll be back on the show soon enough, and we have some stuff in the future that he has created that I'm super excited about doing, but we have to keep our mouth shut because I am a habitual shit talker. I say we're going to do things, and then we don't do them, so we're just going to do what we're doing, keep plugging away. Again, thank you all for listening. Let's start right off the bat. First disclaimer, I think there's going to be like 3 or 4 of them. But first disclaimer is, as I list these wrestlers off, these are wrestlers that I'm a fan of. I'm not going to list wrestlers I'm not a fan of because who gives a shit about that? But I will forget people that I'm a huge fan of because there's so many people out there, and I am not the super wrestling fan. I am a mark for many things, sometimes for wrestling, but my knowledge is limited, and especially my my ability to recall names. So we're going to go first generation of my life is old school. This isn't a rank. This is just 5 people that I enjoy and a little bit about each one of them and why I enjoy them. First one, we just did a podcast about him. I don't know if we actually talked about him that much, but it is the great Hulk Hogan. He's probably my number 1 guy just as far as history goes. He's a controversial figure for obvious reasons, and he deserves to be. But he made a wrestling fan out of me. There are certain times where he made me seemingly through philosophies that I don't know if he even believed. He made me a better American. And that is probably a big load of horse shit, but I just said it. So Hulk Hogan, for a bunch of different reasons, he's an icon. Almost every generation until he was too old to do it. He was the top guy or one of the top guys. Second guy, this is probably my all-time favorite, even though I said Hogan's my number 1, but this is my favorite wrestler of all time. Hands down, by far, is the late, great Randy Macho Man Savage. I don't even know what to say about him. His matches were great. Big difference between him and Hogan was dude could wrestle. He had the flying elbow. He had everything. And, I mean, his promos were out of control, super hectic, super awesome. He was a character. He was a true character. You know, with Hulk Hogan, with the yelling and stuff, and as we know him throughout the years, and with his acting, you kind of got to know him as a personal human, especially with the stupid fucking reality shows he did. But Macho Man, we sort of never got to know the real Macho Man. He always kept everything behind the curtain, as it should be with these guys, I feel. And he was awesome. Every aspect of professional wrestling, he was the cream of the crop. And you know what he said about the cream of the crop. I'm not going to do it, even though one day I'm going to have a Macho Man off with Wallace because I think I could do a better Macho Man. And the judges will be the audience. Number 3, the iconic, the gigantic, the 8th, 9th, and 10th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant was a dude that didn't speak English very well. He was big, but he was large. He, could wrestle to the best of his ability because of his size. But holy hell, was he an icon, and he was awesome. And on occasion, me and him are very connected. Sometimes he speaks to me through me in ghost form up from heaven. That whole last sentence was garbage. So we'll move on. Everybody knows how I feel about Andre the Giant. I think he's amazing. One day maybe I'll get Andre the Giant tattoo right on my arm here. If I could get my arm a little bigger, so that way people don't see it and go, why would you put the 9th wonder of the world or 8th, whatever the hell he was, on your arm when your arm's so baby small? Yeah. Number 4 on this list, short list of 5. And this list changes. So the 4th on the list is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was awesome. Promo guy, a little bit above average. But growing up, I was obsessed with all things martial arts, all things kung fu. He reminded me of Bruce Lee. I was obsessed with Bruce Lee. Holy shit. And Ricky the Dragon was kind of, the dude that sort of, he was kind of like the wrestling's Bruce Lee in a way. He wasn't doing spin kicks and stuff. He was doing all wrestling things. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was Asian. But I really liked him. I liked his look. I liked how he moved. I like how he spoke. He was sort of more like, they used to call they call Superman the Boy Scout in the comics, and I think on occasion in a movie and some of the TV shows. But to me, the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was the Boy Scout. He was the clean cut dude. Always did the right thing. I don't even know if he ever was a heel, but I was a fan. And I will move on. I told you this shit was going to be short and sweet. Hopefully I don't put any of you guys into a panic attack by the way I'm speaking. At least you won't get drunk with all my because I think I've only done like 3 of them. Last but not least, and there are more that are on this list, but it's just a one-way conversation I'm having, and I appreciate your ears and your attention. But the last one is not even a wrestler, but he was such an icon and a master and a badass. And he went out in an awful way, but we are huge fans of him on this show. And it is Bobby the Brain Heenan. He was awesome. He was the epitome of Weasel. He was a great commentator. He was whatever he put his mind to doing, promoting wrestlers, actually being physical in the ring. The dude was very spry for who he was. A guy that, he didn't drop kick other people, but if you hit him, you could see very few people fly over a turnbuckle or fall on the ground with the grace and impact that dude did. But they called him the Brain. I don't know, maybe because of something having to do with his balls. I don't think that was the case. But as far as a wrestling brain and a person that, not just did things backstage, but in front of people, he was a master. He was that dude that taught the black belts. He was the guy that the black belts were fucking in awe of. Bobby the Brain Heenan was amazing as a manager, like I said, as a commentator, as a performer. And he knew how to get physical, He was awesome. We miss him. We respect him. And now take a breath, relax. Again, thanks for listening. We're going to hit the 90s era, what some people call the Attitude Era. Some people call it the Monday Night Wars era. During this time, I didn't watch any WWE. I didn't watch any of it because I didn't care. I was the guy that got sucked back into wrestling by WCW and the NWO. I thought it was fascinating. Also, I didn't go deep into it, so this is my first introduction into a little bit of lucha wrestling, a little bit of high-flying stuff, things that wasn't just promo, and then, what seemed to be like a brawl. That was sort of the wrestling before that. There wasn't a lot of flippy stuff. There was a lot of promos, and there was a lot of dudes punching each other in the face, drop kicks and clotheslines and body slams. Now you get into this part, as far as I knew, That's when you got dudes doing flips and more frog splashes, which I love, and, crazier things. And WCW brought that to me, and I happen to have some friends at the time in college that love to waste time too, so we watched that stuff, Eric Bischoff won my heart during that time. So this is my list again. And again, this isn't some kind of ranking. These are just people I like, that I'm a fan of, was a fan, am a fan. Minus one guy for obvious reasons. But the first one on the list, and again, this is no particular ranking order, is Scott Hall. Another guy that was one of the best sellers in wrestling, one of the best performers in wrestling, one of the best promo guys in wrestling, had one of the best looks. And, who knows where he'd be now if it wasn't for his alcoholism, but that could be said for a lot of people. They got shit in their lives, and some people overcome them, some people don't, but he was always consummate performer, professional, give or take. But he always came off as being so damn cool. You almost never saw him get ruffled, no matter what. Even if he got his ass kicked, he just was always pretty cool. Kind of like Kevin Nash, same shit. Like, they just were always so cool. Even though backstage, I said they were professionals. They were probably dickheads because of their status. I would assume that they bullied dudes backstage and fucked with other wrestlers, but I don't know. That was sort of status quo with a lot of companies back then. The second dude, the legend, we miss him too, Eddie Guerrero. I thought he was amazing. He, again, did all these things, and he brought in some of that Latin flavor and things that I didn't see when I was younger, obviously, and I don't know if I'm making a bad connection, but Tito Santana was like a kind of like a minority voice, like a Latino voice. And Tito's, again, like one of those dudes that was like a forever heel, forever face, which was baby face, which is super cool. But Eddie Guerrero just did everything. You rooted for him even when he was being a dirtball, and he knew how to be a dirtball on the same level weaselly that Bobby the Brain Heenan was, and he was a killer performer in the ring, killer promo guy. And I didn't do dives after I saw him on WCW. I never dove into a swimming pool I don't even know if I've ever since then dove into a swimming pool. It's all frog splashes, baby. Frog splashes. So it's my way to do a cannonball. I don't do a normal cannonball. I frog splash into swimming pools because of Eddie Guerrero. So I say thank you, Eddie, for for influencing me to be a worse swimmer and diver. Dude was amazing. Unfortunate what happened to him. Now, this next pick is controversial only because the way his life ended. But as a performer, I was a huge fan. He was a worker, a hard worker. He always looked scary to me. He always scared me. When you get in there and he fought guys, you thought that he was hurting them. Like, I believed he was genuinely hurting these men. And that is Chris Benoit. I won't go farther into it. No disrespect to his family. It sucks what happened to him. CTE is a motherfucker. And, it sucks. He also had a bunch of tragedies. Well, pretty much Eddie's death, but it's not an excuse. It sucks. It's awful. Mental illness is fucking an unfortunate bullshit thing. But Chris Benoit was one of my favorites at the time, so that's why I mentioned him. That's that. And now we'll move on to the guy that I was kind of obsessed with for a short time, and I knew nothing about him. He didn't do promos. He didn't do anything. It was literally just his in-ring work. So on days that I get irritated, which is not often because I like this stuff too, with the flippy stuff, all the spot monkey stuff in modern day wrestling, I remember that I was sort of obsessed with this man because of what he could do in the ring. And I just didn't think human bodies could do that unless they were in Cirque du Soleil, and that is the great legend Rey Mysterio. Dude was awesome. He could still work, but back then I didn't know this, and this was when he first started. I started watching him. I didn't watch him then after he left WCW and did his whole, I'm not even sure. I'm going to say all the wrong numbers, but the last 15, 20 year run in WWE, I don't know any of that stuff. His Mohawk mask. I don't know anything about that stuff. I just know his contact lenses. I didn't know anything about that shit. I only know when I saw him on WCW, he was one of those week-to-week workers that was just amazing for me to watch. It was one of the hooks that that was a very phlegmy hook. I apologize for all you headphone listening motherfuckers. I just boogered into your ears, and I apologize for that. It's very mean, very unprofessional. But Rey Mysterio, man, you are awesome. And then throwing it for a tailspin, because I said I didn't watch WWE at all, but I'd like to give props to a guy that made himself the ultimate bad guy and did it incredibly well. Not it so well that, I mean, in the 80s generation, he made wrestling mainstream with Hulk Hogan, and then he extended that and made it mainstream, but put himself in front of the camera too as a very legit and good bad guy performer, especially on the mic, and that is Vince McMahon. Him and Stone Cold were the main draw of WWE. It was the two of them, fight with me, two of them against the entire WCW roster on what you're going to watch. And props to him, because all the guys that love that they bleed WWE, it's usually because they were huge Attitude Era fans, because they hated Vince McMahon and they fucking love Stone Cold. And so that's why I had Vince McMahon on there. I didn't watch him at all, but I am aware and fucking respect. Last one of that is a twofer, because, I don't know, I wanted to do this quickly, but Bret Hart and Raven. I loved Raven's DDT even flow. His face, his look, all that stuff, it always irritated me. He always just looked dirty and smelly, but I love how he wrestled. Wasn't crazy about his promos, because I don't like that, I almost said emu, like the bird, but like he was sort of emo-y, you know, what about Raven or shit like that, which I don't like that stuff. But he didn't yell all the time, or sort of ever. I just liked how he worked. And Bret Hart, again, probably the best worker in wrestling. Fight with me, argue with me. I'm sure there's a lot of other guys, but when they say technical wrestling, watch him wrestle. Everything seemed real. One of the best salesmen in the business, one of the best minds in the business. That's it. I think maybe instead of taking a shot every time I say you could take a shot every time I say and you probably would have gotten drunk about 10 minutes ago. So that's that for the 90s area. And now I would like to talk about today's era. And my disclaimer for today's era is I'd like to tell you all, especially wrestling Twitter, if you listen to this, lighten the fuck up. This is such a special time to be a fan in wrestling, because there are so many amazing wrestlers. Back in the day, if you wanted to watch wrestling and it wasn't WWE, then you would go to the local VFW and see a bunch of fat guys pray that they don't have heart attacks while they literally like hold each other's hands and go in a circle and pin each other. It was not great. No disrespect to the dudes that did it, because I can't, and I never did it, and I won't. But that's what you had to watch as a fan, and all those are unknowns. Now you have local VFW people, which, you know, whatever. I guess that's bottom of the rung. Then you have the indies all over the country, which Wallace likes to call, and so does Bodie, is like the new territories. And then you got the mid-level companies like MLW and, you know, Impact and ROH and there's a bunch of other ones that I don't know how to mention, because my brain doesn't work too well. And then you got the bigger ones, you know, you got AEW and New Japan and WWE. WWE's at the top, but you have so many promotions with so many wrestlers, and then you have all different types of wrestlers. Whatever you're interested in, you could find some man or woman or both that epitomize the stuff you like, and and you want them to fight other people. So it's awesome, and I'd like to give a shout out to Val Capone, because this is kind of one of her credos. I'm sure somewhere on her arm or leg, there's a tattoo that says all that. Like, you lucky sons of bitches, wrestling is amazing right now. Quit complaining and smile and like stuff. So shout out to her for being one of the people that believes like we do that, man, oh man, is it a good time to be a wrestler. But I'm going to try to knock this out even faster because I have a lot of wrestlers on here. I'd like to say first, I'd like to mention Sam Adonis. I am a huge fan. I really like not liking him in the ring. I've met him personally. He was cool. We've done interviews with the show. He's very supportive. I'm hoping that I could get to Texas this summer to see him wrestle. But when he's wrestling, when he's in that ring, ooh, it's fun to not like him. He's so good at making me not like him, and I respect that. And Sam Adonis, you're fucking good at your job, bro. Second guy, Mecha Wolf. I didn't know who he was. I went to a Galley Lucha show, and he did all these flips and all this crazy stuff. And I became a fan. Also, his gimmick, his mask, everything. He looked like a scary, badass, kung fu fighting werewolf monster. Like, I would want to put him in an action movie if I ever made one. He's got that look and so physically capable. And we did an interview with him too, and he was super cool, very supportive also of the show. And he's a musician and a fan of the same music that Wallace is a fan of, which is very cool. It's cool that when we can connect to people that have similar interests. It's just cool. So I'm a huge fan. Third on my list is the Bastard Pack. I think he's going to be huge in the future as a performer. Holy shit, he might be the top guy. Physically, he could do stuff that just nobody can even get near, but hell of a seller, hell of a performer, hell of a promo guy also. When he just always looks mad at everybody. So when he wants to beat you up, you probably think it was for a good reason, at least in his head. Fourth is Wardlow. We haven't seen that much of him in AEW, but I watched him at Warrior Wrestling. I've seen him at like indie, like online stuff. He is really good, and he is, the consummate wrestling. He is exactly what you want out of a wrestler. Huge, good at promos, professional. You don't know anything about his personal life, and I really like that. He stays to himself, does what he needs to do, beats dudes' asses, and I'm a huge fan. He's awesome. And I suppose I'm not explaining these things very well because I just keep saying, he's awesome. They're awesome. He's awesome. I'll buy a thesaurus this weekend, and I'll get back to you guys next time we record. Second, or whatever on the list, is Hikaru Shida. That was my girl, man. She just lost the women's championship, AEW championship, which is unfortunate. Britt Baker is an amazing performer. But Shida, man, that was my girl, man. She's awesome, and I hope she continues to be awesome within all these different wrestling promotions, especially AEW. I think women's AEW division, or I didn't say that. I think I said that sentence backwards. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be just as good as the men's division, and the tag team and all that stuff, because there's some don't like all the female wrestlers, just like I don't like all the male wrestlers, but she's at the top for me. In keeping with that, well, not really. Oh yeah, I'd like to say Chris Stantlander came back from an injury. Love her gimmick. She can work, man. She is so physically talented. It's awesome, and I think her promos are funny. And I like that she's been hooked up with Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. Where that goes, I don't know, but I'm really enjoying it. And when her in-ring work is next level. I want to go so far as to say, like, I hate that I have to say no disrespect, because I'm not trying to fucking disrespect anybody, but I think she's at the top, and then it's like Shida, Thunder Rosa, and probably other people I'm forgetting. So with that being said, my next on the list is Thunder Rosa, just because I love how she looks, and she is I like how she wrestles too. It feels brutal. She brings her MMA shit into it. her brutality into it, and I think she is one of the best promo guys in the business. Like, get her in front of a mic and get scared and get hyped and get pumped, and she's also a great ambassador for the sport. Dude, I'm a huge fan, and I love that. I always say it wrong. Dia de los Muertos. Send your hate mail to, I think, jpdub@gmail.com. She's awesome, but I love that half face paint stuff. I just, the look is great. I'm a huge fan. Next on the list is Chuck Taylor of the Best Friends, because he is a little doughy, but he is so good in the ring, and outside of the ring, he seems hilarious, and he's a good promo guy. He's a little bit in the background now. That's fine. There's a bunch of people that are wrestling right now, but when I get to see him, I enjoy seeing him, and I am a fan. I feel like there's going to be a Chuck Taylor t-shirt in my future on my body. Shout out to El Amigos in Cherville, Indiana. I bought one of their shirts. But that was a weird transition. Who gives a shit? Huge fan of Chuck Taylor. Now I'm thinking I might have said the wrong name. Next guy. And I actually want to put these two guys together because they just wrestled. But I'm a massive, massive, massive fan of Miro and the Murder Hawk Monster because of what they can do in the ring, because they're both fantastic promo guys. Miro recently has had more time to yell at and be a promo guy than the Murder Hawk, and my brain is not thinking of his real name right now. I love that he's been paired up with Jake the Snake. Nostalgia hits me like crazy, and I love that Jake's doing well. But these two guys are just amazing performers in the ring. They're both gigantic. They're both, huge presences, and I look forward to everything they do. But I do have one complaint, which is might be my only complaint on this list, is those two motherfuckers spit in their beard too much, and it's disgusting. Makes me want to turn the channel. My kryptonite is, it just looks like boogers in the beard, and I do not like boogers. It isn't an invitation for everybody I meet in real life to pick their nose and show me, because I will literally grab you by the collar, and I will vomit onto you, because I cannot handle it. My tum-tums is very sensitive. But those guys are awesome. Those guys are great. Last but not least, and we're almost done, babies, a man named Atomico Sr. Two heels, Chris. I hope I said it right. Atomico Sr. I've been to a couple galley shows in the city, in the suburbs, and this dude tickles me to no end. He wears a full wrestling bodysuit he wears other colors, but when he wears the bubblegum suit and he does a little dance in the ring, I'm sure one of our YouTube videos has it, but if you go see them live, you could see him every time. He is, you want to get me out of a bad mood? You want me to have a good day after having a garbage day covered in shit, and not literally? Just play a video of my man Atomico doing his dance, and I am happy for like 6 hours. So, huge fan. I invite everybody listening to the sound of my voice to catch a galley show whenever they can, because it's intense. It's like, it's not as big as the other indie companies around the city, but they have a great following. They always have a good crowd, and all the wrestlers that come are awesome. It's just great. I need to learn Spanish because I don't know what the hell they're talking about ever. So I need to at least learn 20 words so I could catch the gist of when somebody says I'm going to kick your ass in Spanish, or why did you do this to me in Spanish, or I'm the champion in Spanish. I got to learn those things, and he's a legend. He's a generational wrestler. I think he's I'm going to lie, I think he's fourth or fifth generation. His sons wrestled, are wrestling. I think his father and grandfather also wrestled. So be on the lookout for, I don't want to say anything, but go to a galley show. It's awesome. Support the company. Support those dudes. And that's it, man. That's my list. Thank you for listening. Thanks for the support. Oh, yeah. Let me do in conclusion. You'll like this one. In conclusion, subscribe, and I also like wrestlers that do the frog splash and have DDT finishers. End of podcast.
You gonna do sex to me?
Did you like that video? If so, be sure to hit like and subscribe and check out more killer content from your boys at Juice Pro Wrestling. Whoa, yeah!